Welcome to United Jews channel.
And then, of course, we have to go into the other sort of social justice things when people are trying to right a wrong with another wrong. That's what people are trying to do. They're trying to say, well, you know, if one race was oppressed for a longest time, now we have to oppress the other race in return and hoping that this will right the wrong. Two wrongs will never make a right. So again, in my opinion, the modern definition of social justice only makes social conflict worse. And I think that's because these people think they can win, which they may very well may be able to do. At least in the state like California, which is very left-leaning, they may be able to win. I personally know several people who are planning to leave the state because of this, because it's getting really toxic to live here. If you're willing to internally immigrate, you don't talk to anyone, you don't voice your opinions, you actually don't give a damn about what's going on around you, you may be able to live and hell takes the rest. But if you really care and if you want to participate in sort of social life, then, and you are of certain persuasion, then this state is not a place for you. That's what people think. And I think that's what's going to happen. And it's happening already.
Yeah, Krista, what do you, now you heard of all of us, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say. I'm happy to be here. I wanted to debrief with some Trump supporters. And first I want to say that I have a lot of sympathy and I do think that there's people wanting to, because the issues are so hyper emotional, people feel that Trump is, you know, racist, dangerous to our world, which I happen to agree about that. And so I think that the left is too far left in certain ways. There should have been a nod to certain things, certain pivotal issues that the Biden campaign didn't, like, for example, acknowledge the damage of BLM and the things that happened. And there's other, I mean, we're being recorded, so it's a little bit, and I don't want this to go to anyone be used without permission. But I think it's, you know, there's the immigration that they don't have the most balanced view, I think, on certain pivotal issues that are important to conservatives. What I don't understand, and I understand your feelings for feeling silenced around that, because you know, people are hyper, especially because of COVID, and, you know, there's this whole stick in the weird thing of, you know, these films that have come out like Plandemic 2, and people saying that COVID was intentionally made. You know, people in my world think that, and they think there's a global plot for domination, for world domination from an elite group of people that want to make a technocratic future. That's the majority of liberal people that I know that have turned to Trump are turning to Trump for that reason, which is deep conspiracy. I mean, they're into these conspiracy theories that have kind of been layered on top of each other. Yeah, so I think there's, as being Jewish people, which I'm guessing most of you are, my partner's Jewish, it's interesting to me, and there's a little bit of cognitive, like, I'm kind of trying to understand where it's coming from, because from what I've seen of the people on the right, they are generally believing that there's a world domination plot, and the most wealthy people in the world with the most power, which is to a large extent Jewish people, really, I think statistically, I'm pretty sure, they're targeting that group. So as people with nefarious ambitions. So that's why I kind of don't really understand where like you guys are like, because me, I'm like, oh my God, like there's all these people that are kind of in the right that are kind of targeting. It's weird because Trump to me is actually working for the billionaires, and Biden to me is actually trying to, you know, raise the minimum wage and work for the minor person. And then you have these people at companies like Google or whatever that are actually supporting a candidate where they would actually have to pay more taxes, that has more humanistic policies. Whereas the people that actually would benefit from having Biden in office, like your right-leaning Midwestern white person, whatever, they're supporting Trump, which is actually not going to benefit them personally. Well, maybe he'll bring businesses back, but I think that Biden also wants to do that. And I'll stop talking now, but to me, the crowning issue of our world right now, and not a positive way, you could say, like coronavirus, is climate change and global cooperation. To me, it's like my objective is to, and I'm explaining to you guys why I'm for Biden, you know, my objective is to see poverty alleviation, to see our world stabilized, birth rate, electricity, water. And Trump wants to pull out of all of our international agreements, not all of them, but many of them. And I don't see that that's going to be a positive, and he wants to expand the military into space. I don't think any of these things are positive.
You see, we all have our important buttons, that the issues that drive us. So to me, the climate change is less important than social liberty, freedom of speech, and everything else. Therefore, I would support someone who would fight against this suppression of free speech that's happening now. To me, this is the most important issue of all. It's not COVID, it's not climate change, it's not war in space, it's this. At least for me, right now, at this minute, for the last 4 years.
Yeah,
maybe it'll change.
I don't understand.
Maybe it'll change.
One is physical survival.
Krista, you don't understand where we're coming from. We lived in socialism. We lived where we couldn't say anything because we would be thrown into jail or things would go wrong for us. The government would make sure it would go wrong for us. We were already silenced for so long. We see it, you know, second round. For us, it's the second round. You know, we've been there. It's important for us. That's why we're here in the United States. We wanted to get out. We don't want it to happen again. For us, it's our main thing.
What country is that?
It's Soviet Union. Soviet Union. And we see that the left is going on a full speed train to Soviet Union. And we don't like that. We've been there. That's why we are so against it. You know, all the COVID and all the climate change had nothing to do with the main issue for us because we've been there and we don't want there. And we don't know how to explain. We can't even sometimes explain to our own kids that you don't want to go there. Please don't go. Please.
Yeah, but why? What is different than Biden than Obama? There wasn't really.
Well, there is no difference between Biden and Obama.
Socialism under Obama. I don't understand where the problem is. There might be suppression at the university level, but people are free to. There's right-wing newspapers. There's left-wing newspapers.
Not really.
What
not
right-wing
really.
newspapers do you know?
Except Fox News. Yeah.
Yeah. What's right?
Fox News very not right. And
it's getting worse and worse. It's getting worse and worse with every year. I am observing it. I see it. It's getting worse. And then when the children are being brainwashed in colleges this way, it'll only get worse.
Okay, and
so
I'll try to explain. You know, our position. It's always coming with this from liberals and left, that how can you, a Jew, support a president who is supported by somebody who they know to be racist or anti-Semite? It's not about that. I also don't understand this notion of Obama supporter, Biden supporter, or Trump supporter. You know, we're voters. We vote, and it has nothing to do with support. We might support our candidate, but if candidate doesn't do what he promised, we should be absolutely able to change our vote and give support to somebody else. So that's one. Then another one problem on the left, that they apply their logic of this community, social something to the right. Okay, we understand, and above all, we understand individual rights. We try to stay within individual rights. And when you say a group of people like, oh, blacks are supporting Biden, well, I know blacks who don't support Biden. Okay, it doesn't mean that group, even statistics, they pull statistics, oh, American Jews voted mostly for Biden. Well, there were American Jews who didn't. And it doesn't mean anything. That this group mentality, this is socialism. That reminds me of communists that counted, heads all the time, and it's like it was completely, completely artificial. They said how many people on this factory are Jews, how many people are Russians, how many people this, how many people that. What it has to do with anything, with our decision. How is it explaining us how people vote? People vote individually. They go to the booth, other individual, they understand issues. They're not voting as a Jew. They're voting as a person who has, read position of such a candidate, and they vote. 71 million. And another issue that you bring up, you didn't notice how people are afraid to say their opinion if it's not the majority opinion. 71 million people voted for Trump, yet polls didn't reflect that. Why do you think that is? Why most of those people who voted for Trump never said anything to the poll takers?
Well, because Trump
about their position.
And people don't want to admit that they're voting for him. I mean, I don't have a problem.
Why?
Because they're afraid.
Why?
Exactly. Why don't they?
Why? Why is there not saying?
Because he says mean things to people and they don't want to be associated with him.
And then yet,
why vote for him? Why vote for him?
Because they
don't
have
like what he
about
says,
policies. I understand what you're saying, but I don't, fundamentally, everybody gets to vote for, you're talking about a culture war, okay? I'm talking about actual, my interest is in policies. I understand there's a culture war. I understand that people are, feel like they can't come out for Trump publicly. I get it. And I don't think that's good. But Trump himself created that problem by being so, dramatic and saying bad and disgusting things to people.
But forget Trump. People can't come out for a conservative policy issue. Forget Trump. Trump only came 4 years ago. Even before then, it was dangerous. Not physically dangerous, but it was unpleasant to come out and speak as a conservative.
And now
for the longest time in this country.
And now it's physically dangerous.
Now it's physically dangerous.
I think the liberal bubble got burst in the last little bit. I think it did. And I think it needed to.
Why do you say that? Why are you saying that? I think it's the exact opposite. Now these people will get emboldened by having their person in the White House, and it'll get only worse.
I don't see that in my, I don't see that in my social relationships. Now it's not bad to say, look, BLM had there was problems from BLM. That shouldn't have happened that way. There should have been leaders that could call people off and have them stay home. I couldn't have said that 5 months ago. I
but
did
Why?
actually.
did you feel
Why
it?
couldn't you?
Did you feel it or not? Did you know it was wrong from the very beginning or not? Because we knew it was wrong from the minute it started. We all knew it was wrong. When did you realize it was wrong? I'm just curious.
I don't think it was ever wrong. I think that the strategy of protesting became ineffective pretty quickly when the looting started. It became ineffective. The question you want to ask is what I'm doing going to create my ask?
It's you use the word ineffective, and I would use another word. Ineffective is the last word I would use. Because ineffective means that it's just, oh, it's okay to do. It did nothing to people. But I would use a much stronger word because it did a lot of damage. It was actually destructive. It was really, really, really bad. And it made a lot of things worse. So to me, I can't use even any word that is not strongly opposite to BLM, because I don't have those words to them. I don't have any sympathy.
Well,
Okay.
Honestly, I personally think
the stealing was wrong, and some of the things that happened were absolutely wrong. Of course, the stealing and the destruction was wrong. But what wasn't wrong was people gathering to make asks to their government to try to help systemic racism.